In June 2018, a 10-year-old boy vanished on a bike ride in Colorado. 7 years later, hikers found his GoPro, 93 photos, all intact. Photo -7 showed a trail sign, shortcut use at own risk. Photo -124 showed a shape between the pines, real tree camouflage, someone had been watching him. For 922 days, his family waited. No body, no suspect, no answers. Search teams combed 300 square miles of wilderness. Volunteers walked shoulder to shoulder through forests where sunlight barely reached the ground. They found nothing. Then 93 photos revealed Mason's last 8 days. Every shelter he built, every creek he found, every signal fire he tried to light. And the neighbor who helped organize those searches, the man who stood beside Mason's parents at press conferences, who distributed flyers with Mason's face, appeared in photo #189, reflected in the GoPro's lens. Reaching, you'll see how a fearless 10-year-old documented his own survival with the precision his father taught him. How investigators analyzed 93 images to reconstruct 8 days in the wilderness. How one reflection in a camera lens identified a predator who'd hidden in plain sight for 7 years. And how a family learned their son had been exactly as brave as they'd always believed. Thursday morning arrives in golden light. The kind of light that makes the Rocky Mountain foothills look like they're glowing from within, every pine needle sharp, every rock face throwing shadows that could hide entire worlds. June 14, 2018. 7 o'clock exactly when Mason James Reilly's eyes open, no alarm, just his internal clock doing what it always does. He lies in bed for 30 seconds, listens. His father's already up. Mason can hear the coffee maker hissing downstairs, can smell the breakfast his mother's making even though she worked the overnight shift at the hospital and should be sleeping. The house breathes around him. Normal sounds, Thursday sounds, summer vacation sounds, just 2 days into freedom from 4th grade. His room is organized chaos. Matchbox cars lined up by color on the dresser, red, blue, green. Yellow, black, parked correctly the way he'd arranged them before bed last night. Wouldn't sleep until they were right. His bike helmet sits on the desk, GoPro Hero 5 mounted on top with black electrical tape reinforcing the attachment. His modification. Extra security because if the camera fell off mid-ride, he'd never forgive himself. On the wall above his bed, a laminated map of the Colorado Trail. 756 miles of mountain wilderness. Sections highlighted in yellow marker where he'd already ridden with his dad. So many white spaces left, so many trails waiting. Mason wants to bike every single mile before he turns 18, wants to make a documentary about it like those guys on YouTube who film their adventures and get millions of views. The GoPro was his 10th birthday present from Pop 4 months ago in February. Best gift he'd ever received. Better than the bike itself. Though the blue Schwinn Ranger was pretty close, the camera meant he could document everything. Prove where he'd been, show people what he'd seen, turn his rides into something bigger than just a kid on a bike. Mason sits up, bounces on the balls of his feet before he's even standing, can't help it, energy already building. Today's route, Elk Creek Loop, 5 miles, moderate difficulty. He's ridden it a dozen times, could probably do it blindfolded, but it never gets old. The creek runs fast this time of year with snowmelt, the aspen groves whisper. The trail climbs to a ridge where you can see 3 valleys at once. He dresses fast. Gray t-shirt with the green mountain graphic, adventure awaits. Black athletic shorts with the reflective strip. White ankle socks. Blue and gray New Balance sneakers. And this is the important part. He threads the red shoelaces through carefully. His lucky ones won't ride without them. Ever. Downstairs. His mother is watching him before he even reaches the kitchen. Rachel Reilly has this way of looking at him like she's memorizing details, like she's trying to freeze him in place. Nurse brain, she calls it. She's seen too many kids not come home, knows too well how fast everything can change. Morning explorer, she says, and her smile is warm but her eyes are already calculating. Already running through the checklist she can't help but run, helmet, water bottle. Route plan, return time. Morning mom. His father appears from the garage, hands smelling like copper wire and WD-40. Kevin Reilly is quiet competence in human form, shows love through action, not words. He squeezes the back of Mason's neck, firm, quick, wordless affection, and Mason grins. Bike check, Kevin asks. Did it last night, Mason says. Chains good, tires are solid, brakes. Let's double check, Kevin interrupts gentle. Just to be sure, bud. They go to the garage together. This is their ritual, has been since Mason was 6. Kevin hands Mason the tire pressure gauge. Mason pumps the front tire, counting out loud. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, checks the gauge, perfect. Does the back tire the same way? Kevin watches, doesn't interfere, trusts Mason's process, but needs to witness it himself. The bike chain clicks when Mason spins the pedals. That particular metallic rhythm that means everything's aligned. Kevin's whistling under his breath, can't carry a melody, never could, but he tries. Some tuneless sound that means he's content. Mason has picked up the habit of counting things aloud, tools back in toolboxes, pumps on tires, steps on trails, father and son teaching each other small rituals of preparation. Elk Creek Loop, Kevin asks, though he already knows. Yeah, out and back, 5 miles total. Weather's good, trail should be clear. Kevin pauses, rubs his thumbnail across his left eyebrow, his worry tell, though he'd never admit he's worried. Stay on the trail, Mace. I know, no shortcuts, no wandering off to explore. I know, Dad, just, Kevin stops, squeezes Mason's neck again, just come home safe. They walk back inside. Rachel has cereal waiting, the sugary kind she usually doesn't allow, but it's summer vacation and she's picking her battles. Mason eats fast, chewing between sentences while he tells her about the video he watched last night. Some mountain biker in Utah who jumped a 20-foot gap. Rachel nods, only half listening, mostly just watching him be alive and present, and hers. Lily appears in the doorway. 7 years old, still in pajamas, hair sleep wild. She shuffles over to Mason and holds up her hand, their secret handshake. They've done it every morning for 2 years. High five. Fist bump, explosion, fingers, pinky link. Don't die, Lily says seriously. Wasn't planning on it, Mason replies, equally serious. Rachel's laugh breaks the moment. Both of you stop being dramatic. But Mason sees the way his mother presses her palm flat against her chest, over her heart, her anxiety tell she does it constantly, probably doesn't even know she's doing it right now. By 8:30, Mason is ready, helmet in hand, navy blue. GoPro secured with that extra electrical tape, the black eye of the lens pointing forward. He tucks his small spiral notebook in his back pocket for field observations, though he never actually writes much, mostly just likes knowing it's there. He sets the GoPro to photo mode, time-lapse every 30 seconds. Can't afford the data storage for video on rides this long, but photos work fine. He'll get maybe 200 shots total. Can edit them later into a stop-motion sequence, make it look like he's flying through the forest. Rachel walks him to the door, she always does, watches him wheel the bike down the driveway. Today she's got her phone already out, ready to text Kevin the departure photo. Elk Creek Loop, she says, making him recite it. Elk Creek Loop, back by 11:30. Exact. 11:30 exact, Mom. I'll be early, probably. She tucks his hair behind his ear. Sandy brown, always falling across his forehead, always needing to be cut. He shakes it loose immediately, can't help himself. Love you, explorer, love you too. Kevin appears on the porch, hands on hips, watching, always watching. Stay on the trail, he calls out. Copy that, Mason replies, their language, adventure movie dialogue that's become real. Pop's voice carries from the driveway next door, Mason's grandfather. 72, already watering his garden at 8:45 in the morning. Orange bandana tied around his neck, his signature, worn every single day regardless of weather or activity. Be safe out there, kiddo, Pop says. Stay on the trail, come home safe. I will, Pop. Mason puts on his helmet, taps it twice on top. Tap, tap, always, has to. Won't start a ride without that double tap. Same way he won't ride without the red shoelaces or the tire pressure count or the bike chain rhythm check. He swings his leg over the Schwinn, settles into the seat, squeezes the brake handles once, left, right, testing. Good, tight, responsive. The digital watch on his wrist reads 8:47 a.m. He sets the timer. Return alarm for 11:15, 15 minutes before his deadline because Mason Reilly does not miss deadlines. ever, military precision. His father calls it something to be proud of. He pushes off. The bike chain clicks. The GoPro starts its 30-second countdown to the first photo. The morning air smells like pine and possibility. Golden light makes everything look clean and new and perfect. Rachel watches from the porch until he rounds the corner and disappears. She does this every time. Won't go back inside until he's out of sight, just in case. Just to hold onto that last image of him riding away, safe, whole, hers. She doesn't know she'll stand at that same window in 3 hours, waiting for a phone call that will never come. Kevin doesn't know he'll spend the next 72 hours searching those trails until his body physically collapses. Pop doesn't know that the orange bandana he's wearing today will end up in an evidence bag 7 years from now, placed deliberately on Mason's casket by Rachel's shaking hands. And Mason doesn't know that in exactly 2 hours and 43 minutes, he'll see a trail sign he's passed 100 times before. Shortcut use at own risk. Doesn't know that this time, just this once, he'll think one more turn, one more trail, just to see what's there. Doesn't know that the GoPro mounted on his helmet will capture his decision, frame by frame, every 30 seconds, 93 times. 11:30 a.m. The digital watch on Mason's wrist beeps. 15 minutes before deadline, right on schedule. The alarm he set at 8:47 this morning, the one that tells him to start heading back to turn the bike around to keep his promise. He doesn't turn it off. The beep continues for 30 seconds, then stops. Somewhere on the Elk Creek loop, or maybe not the loop anymore, maybe somewhere else. Somewhere with a shortcut sign and trees that hide things and shapes between pines, the watch sits on a wrist that isn't moving to silence it. In Cedar Falls, Rachel Reilly is loading the dishwasher. 11:32 a.m. She pauses, hand hovering over a plate, that feeling again. The one she gets in the ER sometimes, right before a patient crashes, right before the monitors start screaming. Instinct older than language, mother knowing. She presses her palm flat against her chest, over her heart, shakes it off, goes back to the dishes. 11:35 a.m. She's watching the clock now, can't help it. Mason should be turning around, should be on his way back, probably already is. He's always early, always gives himself that buffer, that 15-minute cushion he builds into every timeline. 11:40 a.m. Rachel moves to the window, the one that faces the street. The one where she watches him disappear every morning and waits for him to reappear every time he comes home. She tells herself this is normal. This is just her being anxious. This is nurse brain and mother brain combining into something exhausting and probably unnecessary. But she doesn't move from the window. 11:45 a.m. Kevin's truck pulls into the driveway. He's home for lunch, works close enough that he can do that most days. He sees Rachel at the window before he's even out of the vehicle, sees the way she's standing, recognizes it. He's in the house 30 seconds later. He's not back yet, Rachel says, not a question, a statement. He's got. I know how much time he's got. He's always early, Kevin, always. Kevin checks his watch. 11:46 a.m. 14 minutes past the deadline Mason set. 4 minutes before the actual return time, nothing to worry about yet. Lots of reasons a kid might be 4 minutes late. Stop to look at something. Tire went flat, taking his time, except Mason doesn't take his time. Mason runs early. Mason beats deadlines. Mason is military precision in a 10-year-old body. 11:47 a.m. Rachel picks up the phone. Kevin's hand moves to stop her, then drops, because he sees it too, feels it too, that wrongness in the air, that absence where their son should be present. She doesn't wait for noon, doesn't wait for boys will be boys or give him another hour or any of the reasonable things people say when a child is 17 minutes late. She dials 911. My son, she says when the dispatcher answers. Her voice is steady, ER nurse steady, the kind of steady that comes right before everything falls apart. My son left at 8:47 this morning. He was supposed to be home at 11:30. He's never late. He's never late. Ma'am, how old is? 10. He's 10 years old and he always calls and he didn't call and his watch beeps at 11:30 and he always turns it off and he's not home. The words tumble out, all the precision crumbling, all the steady gone. Kevin takes the phone, gives the details. Name Mason James Reilly. Age 10. Location Elk Creek Loop Trail System. Clothing gray t-shirt with green mountain graphic black shorts. Blue and gray sneakers with red shoelaces. Bike, blue Schwinn Ranger, 24-inch reflectors on wheels, distinguishing features, GoPro camera mounted on bike helmet with black electrical tape. The dispatcher says someone will call back, says to wait by the phone, says these things usually. Rachel hangs up on these things usually. Kevin is already grabbing his keys, already heading for the truck, already thinking about which trail to check first, which direction Mason would have gone, which turnoffs he might have taken. Rachel stands at the window, the same window where she watched Mason ride away at 8:47 a.m. Golden light, gap-toothed smile, hand raised in a wave. 4 hours ago he was right there, now he's nowhere. And somewhere in a place they can't yet imagine, on a trail that wasn't part of the plan, in a situation that's already gone impossibly wrong, Mason's watch sits silent on his wrist. The alarm turned off, or the boy who always turns it off, unable to reach it. The difference between those two possibilities is the difference between everything and nothing. Rachel will stand at this window for 72 hours straight. Kevin will search until his body gives out from dehydration. Pop will organize volunteer teams and walk on a leg that should have been rested and end up needing surgery. And Mason is already gone into the wilderness. Already 8 miles off the Elk Creek Loop. Already 8 days away from death. Already documenting everything with the GoPro his grandfather gave him for his 10th birthday. Frame by frame, every 30 seconds, 93 times. June 14, 2018. 11:47 a.m., 17 minutes after the watch that's never ignored beeps into silence. The moment the Reilly family's last normal day ends. The last photo Rachel took of him, phone snapshot from the porch this morning, 8:47 a.m., shows Mason on his bike, orange bandana visible in the background at Pop's house, golden light making everything glow. He's looking back over his shoulder, smiling, gap between his front teeth showing, one hand raised in a wave. This is the image they'll use for the missing person posters. This is the image that will haunt 300 search volunteers. This is the image Rachel Reilly will keep in her wallet for 7 years, 2 months, and 20 days. June 14, 2018, 8:47 a.m. Cedar Falls, Colorado, the last normal morning of many lives, though no one knows it yet. The first search helicopter lifts off at 1:17 p.m. By then, Mason has been missing for 4.5 hours. By the metrics that matter in wilderness search and rescue, this is both forever and no time at all. The golden hour, those crucial first 60 minutes when a lost child is most likely to be found close to their last known location, is long gone. But the first 24 hours, the window when statistics still favor survival, when hope isn't yet a lie people tell themselves, that's still open. Sheriff Tom Martinez coordinates from the Elk Creek Loop trailhead parking lot, which has transformed in 90 minutes from empty gravel to command center. 3 patrol cars, 2 search and rescue trucks. Volunteers already arriving with their own vehicles parking along the shoulder of the access road. A news van from Denver pulling up, satellite dish extending. Kevin Reilly is already 2 miles into the forest. He didn't wait for coordination. Didn't wait for search grids or volunteer assignments or any of the official procedures. The moment he hung up with 911, he drove to the trailhead, parked sideways across 2 spaces, and started running. He's calling Mason's name until his voice cracks, then he keeps calling anyway. Rachel stayed home. Someone has to be there when Mason walks through the door. Someone has to answer the phone when he calls, because he will call. He's just lost track of time, that's all. He's just exploring, distracted, being 10 years old. He'll realize how late it is and he'll call and he'll apologize and everything will be fine. She's been telling herself this for 2 hours. She stopped believing it. Pop arrives at 2:00 p.m. with his orange bandana and his 72-year-old determination and a topographic map he's marked up with highlighter. He's walked these trails for 40 years. Knows every turnoff, every overlook, every place a curious kid might wander. He organizes the early volunteers into groups, assigns sectors, tells them what to look for: blue Schwinn bicycle, navy helmet with mounted camera, a 10-year-old boy with sandy brown hair and a gap-toothed smile, tells them to call out constantly. Mason knows his name, he'll respond. The first grid search begins at 2:30 p.m. 23 volunteers walk shoulder to shoulder through the forest east of Elk Creek. They're looking for disturbed ground, broken branches, bicycle tire tracks, any sign of passage. The underbrush is thick here. Pine needles carpet everything, soft and sound dampening. You could hide 100 things in forest like this. They find nothing. By 4:00 p.m., the search has expanded to a 2-mile radius. Sheriff Martinez sets up a proper command post, tables with maps, radio coordination, a sign-in sheet for volunteers that's already 3 pages long. People keep arriving. Mason's 4th-grade teacher, families from the neighborhood, complete strangers who heard about a missing boy and came to help. Lily sits in the command post tent coloring. She's too young to search, too young to understand why everyone looks so worried. Her mother dropped her off with the sheriff's wife because Rachel won't leave the house. Is Mason okay? Lily asks every 15 minutes. They're looking for him, sweetie, the sheriff's wife says every 15 minutes. Can I do our handshake when he gets back? Of course you can. Kevin emerges from the forest at 5:30 p.m. He's been searching for 6 hours straight, no water, no food, no rest. His shirt is soaked through with sweat and his hands are bleeding from pushing through underbrush and his voice is almost gone from shouting. Sheriff Martinez makes him sit, makes him drink 2 bottles of water, makes him eat an energy bar. We need you coherent, Martinez says. We need you to think, where would Mason go? He wouldn't go anywhere, Kevin says. His voice is a rasp. He stays on trails. I taught him we had rules. He doesn't wander off. But if he did, if something caught his attention, if he saw something interesting. Kevin closes his eyes, thinks higher elevation. He likes ridge lines, places where he can see long distances, and water. He's always looking for creeks, streams, anything moving. The shortcut trail. Pop says quietly, he's pointing at the map. Branches off Elk Creek Loop about 1.5 miles in, goes up to Granger Ridge, steep, rocky, not maintained. There's a warning sign. Mason wouldn't take an unmaintained trail, Kevin says. Pop and Sheriff Martinez exchange a look. He's 10, Pop says gently, and it's summer vacation, and there's a ridge at the top with a view that goes for 30 miles. Kevin stands up, grabs his flashlight. The sun is setting, golden light fading to orange, then purple, then that particular blue that comes right before dark. I'm going up there. Kevin, I'm going. Martinez doesn't argue, just assigns 2 deputies to go with him, just makes sure they have radios, first aid kits, enough water for all of them. They hike into twilight. Rachel sits at the kitchen table. Her phone is in front of her, fully charged. Volume on maximum. She's checking it every 30 seconds even though she'd hear it ring, even though she'd feel the vibration, even though she knows, intellectually, rationally, that staring at it won't make Mason call. But she can't stop. Her shift supervisor called 2 hours ago, asked if she was coming in tonight. Rachel laughed, actually laughed. The sound came out wrong, sharp-edged and jagged. My son is missing, she said. Oh my God, Rachel, I'm so sorry. We didn't know. Rachel hung up. Hasn't answered the phone since, unless it's Kevin or the sheriff. At 8:00 p.m., she gets a call from a reporter at the Denver news station. Mrs. Reilly, we'd like to interview you for tonight's broadcast. Get Mason's face out there. Let people know. Yes, Rachel says immediately. Yes, when? The news van arrives at 8:30 p.m. Rachel has changed clothes, brushed her hair, put on the necklace Mason gave her for Mother's Day 2 years ago, a small silver pendant in the shape of a mountain. She touches it constantly during the interview. The reporter asks her to describe Mason. Rachel's hands shake. She steadies them by pressing her palms together. He's 10 years old, she starts. Sandy brown hair, hazel eyes, gap between his front teeth. He's wearing a gray t-shirt that says Adventure Awaits and black shorts and blue sneakers with red shoelaces. Red, his lucky ones, and he has a GoPro camera on his bike helmet. Black electrical tape holding it on because he wanted to make sure it was secure. What would you say to Mason if he's watching? Rachel looks directly into the camera. Baby, if you can hear me, stay where you are, stay put. We're coming to find you. Your dad is out there right now. Pop is out there. So many people are looking. Just stay where you are and we'll bring you home. Her voice breaks on home. The interview airs at 10:00 p.m. on every news station in Colorado. Mason's face, that photo from this morning, gap-toothed smile, hand raised in wave, appears on 10,000 screens. And somewhere in the wilderness, in a place no one has found yet, Mason's GoPro is taking photos every 30 seconds, frame by frame. Building a timeline documenting everything. Day 2, June 15, 2018. Kevin never came home. He's still searching, slept for 2 hours on the trail around 3:00 a.m., then got up and kept going. The deputies with him have tried to convince him to rest, to eat, to take a break. He ignores them. Rachel hasn't slept at all. The search expands to a 5-mile radius. 50 volunteers now, then 80, then 112. The command post has grown. More tables, more maps. A food tent where local restaurants are donating sandwiches and coffee. A media area where reporters wait for updates. Sheriff Martinez holds a press conference at 10:00 a.m. We have over 100 volunteers searching approximately 25 square miles of wilderness. We have helicopter support. We have K-9 units arriving this afternoon. We are doing everything possible to bring Mason Reilly home. A reporter asks, "What do you think happened?" Martinez's face hardens. "We're not speculating, we're searching." The K-9 teams arrive at 2:00 p.m. 3 dogs, German shepherds trained in wilderness tracking. They're given Mason's pillowcase from home. Rachel drove it to the command post herself, hands shaking as she handed it over. The fabric still smelling like her son's shampoo and kid sweat and the particular scent that belongs only to Mason. The dogs are excited at the trailhead, pick up the scent immediately, lead their handlers down the Elk Creek Loop at a fast pace. 1.5 miles in, they veer off the main trail toward the shortcut sign. The handlers stop, call it in. Within 30 minutes, the entire search effort pivots. Volunteers pulled from other sectors. Resources concentrated on the shortcut trail and the terrain beyond it. The trail climbs steeply, rocky, exposed routes, places where a bicycle would have to be carried more than ridden. The dogs keep moving upward. They lose the scent at Granger Ridge. The elevation here is 200 feet. The view extends in all directions, valleys and peaks and forests that go on forever. A 10-year-old boy with a camera would love it up here, would want to document it. Would maybe, just maybe, forget about time and deadlines and return alarms. But there's no sign of him. The dogs circle, try to pick up the trail again, can't find it. Kevin arrives at Granger Ridge at 4:00 p.m. He's been hiking for nearly 30 hours with minimal rest. His legs are shaking, his vision blurs at the edges, but he's scanning the ridge looking for anything, any sign, any trace. Mason. His voice is barely a whisper now, shredded. Mason. The mountains don't answer. Day 3. Pop organizes a grid search of the area beyond Granger Ridge. His leg is bothering him, old knee injury acting up from all the hiking, but he doesn't stop, can't stop. His grandson is out there somewhere. His gift, the GoPro, the camera that was supposed to document adventures and create memories, is out there with him. Pop keeps thinking, at least we'll have photos. At least we'll know where he went. He doesn't let himself think beyond that. The weather turns on day 4. Rain moves in, heavy, cold. June in the Rockies can still drop into the 40s at night, and wet makes it worse. Hypothermia weather, search efforts slow. The trails turn to mud, visibility drops, but no one wants to quit. No one wants to be the person who stopped looking. Rachel makes the decision at 6:00 p.m. Call them back, she tells Sheriff Martinez. It's not safe. I can't have volunteers getting hurt looking for my son. Martinez nods, grateful someone made the call because he was about to have to make it himself. The official search suspends at 7:00 p.m. on day 4. Unofficial searches continue. Kevin doesn't stop, Pop doesn't stop. 30 volunteers ignore the suspension and keep going. Day 5, day 6, day 7, the story moves off the front page. Other news replaces it. A wildfire in California. Political scandal in Washington. The world continues to turn while the Reilly family's world stays frozen on June 14, 2018, 11:47 a.m., day 8. Kevin collapses at the trailhead at 2:00 p.m. Dehydration, exhaustion, his body finally giving out after 8 days of searching with minimal food, minimal water, minimal rest. He's taken to Cedar Falls Memorial Hospital. Rachel meets him there. She's left the house for the first time in 8 days. Lily is with the sheriff's wife. The hospital is Rachel's territory. She knows every corridor, every nurse, every doctor, but walking in as family instead of staff feels wrong. Kevin is on enrollment 4 when she reaches him. "I'm sorry," he says. "I'm sorry I couldn't find him. I looked everywhere." "I know," Rachel says. She takes his hand, squeezes. "I know you did." They sit together in silence. Outside, the official search has ended. Mason Reilly has been missing for 8 days. The statistics for finding a lost child alive after 8 days in wilderness are numbers no one wants to say out loud. But somewhere in a place that won't be found for 7 more years, a GoPro camera sits in a weathered bike helmet. Memory card intact. 93 photos, days 1 through 8. Everything Mason saw, everything he built, everything he tried. And in photo 189, reflected in the camera's lens, a hand reaching toward the boy who documented his own final moments with the precision his father taught him. Frame by frame, every 30 seconds until the camera stopped. But before the case went cold, before the 7 years of silence, there were the photos themselves. Sheriff Martinez's office. September 2018. 3 months after Mason disappeared, the case files have grown thick. Witness statements, search grid maps, helicopter flight paths. Lab reports that all say the same thing: no physical evidence recovered, no blood, no clothing fragments, no bike parts, nothing. The GoPro is still out there somewhere. Martinez thinks about it constantly. 93 photos if the camera kept working. 93 frames that could tell them exactly where Mason went, exactly what happened. But 3 months of searching haven't found it. The case isn't officially cold yet, but it's cooling. Martinez closes the file at 11:00 p.m., goes home to his own children who are safe in their beds, who came home when they were supposed to, who will wake up in the morning. He doesn't know that the GoPro is 8 miles from where the K9 units lost the scent. Doesn't know that photo 124 shows something the searchers walked past 17 times. A shape between the pines. Realtree edge camouflage pattern, the kind hunters wear, digital print designed to disappear against bark and shadow, and the particular green-brown of Rocky Mountain wilderness. In the photo, it's barely visible, just an irregularity in the tree line, a vertical form where the forest should be horizontal. If you didn't know to look for it, you'd miss it entirely. Mason didn't miss it. Photo 124 is timestamped 2:14 p.m. on June 14, 2018, 5.5 hours after he left home, 3 hours and 44 minutes since the watch alarm he didn't turn off. The shape is approximately 40 yards away from the camera, between 2 ponderosa pines, perfectly still. Photo 146, taken 11 minutes later, shows the shape closer, 20 yards now, still motionless. Still blurred by distance and the camera's autofocus struggling with forest depth. But clearly human-shaped, clearly deliberate, clearly watching. Mason saw it, had to have seen it. The GoPro points wherever his head points, and his head turned toward that shape twice. Stopped. Looked. Documented. Did he think it was a searcher, someone coming to help him, or did some instinct, that same primal knowing that made Rachel press her hand to her chest at 11:32 a.m., tell him this was wrong? Photo -189. The last photo on the memory card provides the answer. But that photo won't be seen for 7 years. 2019. The first year is survival, barely. Rachel takes a leave of absence from the hospital that becomes permanent. She can't handle pediatric traumas anymore. Can't see a 10-year-old boy on a gurney without her vision blurring, without her hands starting to shake, without the room tilting. She gets a job at an urgent care clinic instead. Sprained ankles, flu shots, nothing that bleeds, nothing that dies. Kevin keeps searching every weekend, every day off, every spare hour. He drives to the trailhead at dawn, parks in the same spot he parked on June 14, 2018, and walks the trails. He's memorized every tree, every rock, every turn. He's expanded his search radius to 10 miles. 15, 20, he finds nothing. The marriage strains. Not breaking, not yet, but bending under weight it was never designed to carry. Rachel and Kevin sleep in the same bed but dream different nightmares. Talk about Mason constantly but can't talk to each other. Exist in the same house like ghosts haunting separate rooms. Lily turns 8, 9, grows up in the shadow of the brother she barely remembers. Sometimes she forgets what his voice sounded like. This terrifies her more than anything. Pop's knee finally gives out in October 2019. The injury he ignored during the search, the pain he pushed through for 8 days catches up. He needs surgery, can't walk the trails anymore. Sits in his living room instead, orange bandana still tied around his neck every day, staring at the topographic map he marked up with highlighter. The first Christmas without Mason, they don't take down the decorations. The second Christmas, they don't put them up. 2020, COVID hits. The world shuts down. Missing person cases that were already cold freeze completely. Resources redirect. Attention spans shorten. A global pandemic makes one missing boy in Colorado feel like old news. Kevin loses his business not because of COVID, because he can't focus, because he forgets to bill clients, forgets to show up to jobs, forgets everything except Mason. His employees quit, his contracts expire. By December, Reilly Electric is just a name on a truck Kevin doesn't drive anymore. He gets a job doing residential electrical work for a larger company. Hourly, no responsibility beyond showing up and following instructions. It's all he can manage. Rachel and Kevin stop sleeping in the same bed in March. Not a fight, not a decision. Just Kevin falling asleep on the couch one night and never moving back. Rachel doesn't ask him to. The space between them has grown too wide for either to cross. June 14, 2020, 2 years. Kevin drives to the trailhead at 9:00 a.m., the exact time Mason left in 2018. He rides Mason's bike, the blue Schwinn he's kept in perfect condition, maintained weekly, cleaned until the chain gleams up the Elk Creek Loop. He doesn't take the shortcut, never takes the shortcut. Can't bear to ride the trail that took his son. He turns around at the 1.5 mile mark. Comes home at 11:30, exactly on time, the way Mason would have. He does this every June 14th, 2021, 2022, 2023. The years blur together. Rachel develops insomnia that no medication can touch, sleeps in 2-hour intervals. Sometimes she dreams Mason is calling her name, wakes up reaching for a phone that isn't ringing. Kevin goes gray, not slowly. All at once, it seems. His hair, his face, the particular light in his eyes that used to be there when he looked at his work, his family, his life, all of it fading to that same flat gray. Pop stops wearing the orange bandana in 2022, puts it in a drawer, can't stand to see it anymore. Can't stand the way it makes him think of that last morning, Mason riding away, Pop calling out, "Stay on the trail, come home safe. Come home safe." The words loop in his head. Should have said more. Should have said I love you. Should have said wait, don't go. Something's wrong. I feel it. Should have, should have, should have. Lily graduates middle school in 2023. Rachel attends. Kevin attends. They sit together but don't touch, don't speak. Just watch their daughter cross a stage their son will never cross. Afterward, Lily asks if they can go to the memorial stone. They placed it in 2020. Small granite marker at the Elk Creek trailhead. Mason James Reilly. February 22, 2008, June 14, 2018. Beloved son, brother, grandson, forever exploring. Lily stands in front of it and tries to do their secret handshake. High five to empty air, fist bump to nothing. Explosion, fingers to silence. Pinky link with her own hand. I learned to ride a bike, Mason, she whispers. I'm sorry it took so long, but I did it. Rachel's hand goes to her chest, over her heart. The same gesture from 5 years ago, the same anxiety that never stopped, never eased, never let her breathe right. Kevin stares at the stone and thinks about the GoPro, still out there, still waiting, still holding 93 answers to questions that have destroyed his family. 2024, 6 years. The case file sits in a storage room at the sheriff's department. Sheriff Martinez retired in 2022. The new sheriff, Chen, transferred from Denver, has never met the Reilly family, knows the case only as a folder in a box labeled Cold Cases Unsolved. Rachel works, comes home, sleeps 2 hours, wakes, repeats. Kevin searches 1 weekend a month now, used to be every weekend, used to be every day, but his body can't take it anymore. 62 years old and he feels 80. Pop passes away in November 2024. Peacefully in his sleep the way everyone hopes to go. Heart attack, quick, painless. The funeral is small. Kevin delivers the eulogy, talks about his father's dedication, his perseverance, his refusal to give up even when his body was failing. He never stopped looking, Kevin says, never stopped believing we'd find Mason, never stopped hoping. Doesn't say that Pop died without answers. Doesn't say that the orange bandana they buried him with, the one Rachel pulled from the drawer, the one she placed in the casket with shaking hands, was the same bandana he'd been wearing on June 14, 2018. Doesn't say that hope can kill you just as surely as despair. After the funeral, Rachel and Kevin sit in the car in the cemetery parking lot. They haven't been alone together in years. Not really, not like this. I can't do this anymore, Rachel says quietly. Kevin doesn't ask what this means, knows she means everything, the waiting, the not knowing, the marriage that's been dead longer than it's been alive. I know, he says. They file for divorce in January 2025. Not angry, not bitter, just exhausted. Two people who loved each other once before June 14, 2018, who might have loved each other again in some alternate timeline where their son came home at 11:30. But in this timeline, Mason is gone, and 7 years of searching has left them with nothing but separate bedrooms and gray hair and the particular silence that comes from having said everything there is to say. September 3, 2025. David Chen is not looking for anything. He's hiking Deadfall Canyon, a remote area 10 miles from Elk Creek Loop, accessible only by unmaintained trail that requires scrambling over boulder fields and pushing through undergrowth so thick it's almost impassable. He's a wildlife photographer. Came to Cedar Falls tracking a rumored mountain lion den. Has been hiking these mountains for 3 days with camping gear, telephoto lens, and the kind of patience that separates amateurs from professionals. He takes a wrong turn at 2:00 p.m. Realizes it at 2:30. Decides to cut through the canyon instead of backtracking. Save an hour. He's done it before, knows the terrain, knows how to navigate by landmark and instinct. At 3:17 p.m., he's climbing over a rockfall when he sees blue in the rocks. Not natural blue, not sky reflection on whetstone blue. Synthetic blue, plastic blue, Schwinn Ranger bicycle blue. He stops, climbs closer. The bicycle is wedged between two boulders, partially buried by 7 years of rockfall, pine needles decomposition. The frame is bent. The wheels are gone, either taken by scavengers or deteriorated completely, but the color is unmistakable. David pulls out his phone, no signal this deep in the canyon. He takes photos anyway, documentation instinct from years of professional work. Then he sees the helmet, navy blue, partially crushed, sitting in a crevice 3 feet from the bicycle and mounted on top. Secured with weathered black electrical tape, a GoPro Hero 5. David's hands are shaking when he reaches for it. The camera is surprisingly intact. The waterproof housing did its job. 7 years of rain and snow and temperature swings, and the plastic is cracked but not shattered. The lens is scratched but not broken. He presses the power button. Nothing, of course nothing. 7 years, dead battery, but the memory card. David knows cameras. Knows that SD cards are remarkably resilient. Knows that data can survive conditions that would destroy almost anything else. He removes the card carefully, slides it into a plastic bag from his camera kit, seals it, then he looks around the canyon with new awareness. This is a crime scene. This is where a 10-year-old boy ended up 7 years ago. This is where the search helicopters never flew, where the K-9 teams never tracked, where 300 volunteers never walked because it was too far off any logical route, too remote, too impossible. David climbs out of the canyon at double speed, reaches cell signal at 4:47 p.m., calls 911. I found the Mason Reilly bike, he says, and the camera, the GoPro, it's here. The call reaches Sheriff Chen at 5:00 p.m. She's only been sheriff for 3 years, transferred from Denver. Didn't know Mason Reilly personally, but she knows the case. Everyone in Cedar Falls knows the case. The missing boy, the 7-year cold file, the family that fell apart searching. She drives to Deadfall Canyon herself, brings 2 deputies, a forensics tech, the medical examiner just in case. They reach the rockfall at 7:00 p.m., fading light, flashlights creating shadows that look like shapes between trees. The bike is exactly where David described. The helmet is exactly where David described. They search the immediate area with portable floodlights. Looking for remains, looking for clothing, looking for anything, they find a small spiral notebook in a crevice, weathered but legible. Mason's field observation journal. The pages are water damaged, but you can still read some words. Day 3, cold, built shelter, fire won't start. They find a digital watch. Broken. Stopped at 3:47 p.m. on an indeterminate date. They don't find Mason. But Sheriff Chen knows with the certainty that comes from 20 years in law enforcement, that if the bike is here, if the helmet is here, if the camera is here, then Mason is here too, just deeper, just buried, just beyond where their lights can reach tonight. She bags the GoPro herself, places it in evidence with the same care someone would use handling something sacred. Because that's what it is. 7 years of questions, 7 years of wondering, 7 years of a family destroyed by not knowing, and maybe 93 answers. Rachel Reilly gets the call at 8:30 p.m. She's at home, alone. Kevin lives across town now. The divorce finalized in April. They are civil, cordial, co-parenting Lily with the kind of coordination that requires no actual contact. Mrs. Reilly, Sheriff Chen says, "This is Sheriff Andrea Chen. I need to tell you we've found Mason's bicycle and helmet." The world stops. Rachel's hand goes to her chest over her heart where it's lived for 7 years. Where, she says, not a question, a demand. Deadfall Canyon, about 10 miles from Elk Creek Loop. We're searching the area now. The camera, Rachel says. The GoPro, did you find it? Yes, we recovered it. The memory card appears intact. Rachel makes a sound, not crying, not screaming, something else. Something from 7 years deep. I'm coming there. Mrs. Reilly, it's dark, the terrain is dangerous, we'll have answers tomorrow. Rachel hangs up, calls Kevin, he answers on the first ring, always does when she calls, just in case. They found the bike, she says, they found the camera. Silence, then where Deadfall Canyon, more silence. I'm coming to get you, Kevin says, we're going there. Chen said to wait until, I've waited 7 years, I'm going. Rachel doesn't argue, they haven't been in a car together since the divorce, haven't been alone together since Pop's funeral. But when Kevin pulls up at 9:00 p.m., she gets in without hesitation. They drive to Deadfall Canyon in silence, both thinking the same thing, the GoPro is intact, the memory card survived. After 7 years, 2 months, and 20 days, they're about to see what Mason saw. They're about to know. The forensics lab at Colorado Bureau of Investigation smells like ozone and cleaning solution. Clinical, sterile, the kind of place where evidence becomes data, where tragedy becomes case numbers, where a 10-year-old boy's last moments get reduced to pixels on a screen. Detective Marcus Torres has been staring at those pixels for 6 hours. It's September 5, 2025, 2 days since the GoPro was recovered. The memory card went straight to CBI, proper chain of custody, proper protocols, everything by the book because this case is 7 years old and they can't afford a single mistake. Torres is Cedar Falls PD's only detective now. Budget cuts, small town, one detective is all they can justify. He's 43 years old. Came from Denver 5 years ago looking for a quieter life. Got the Reilly case file on his first day. Has thought about it approximately once a month since then. Now he's got 93 photos spread across 2 monitors. The memory card was intact, perfectly preserved. Every single image recovered with full resolution, full metadata, timestamps accurate to the second. Mason Reilly's last 8 days documented every 30 seconds. Torres has been arranging them chronologically, building a timeline. Watching a 10-year-old boy survive in wilderness with competence that borders on astonishing. Photo 1, timestamp 9:17 a.m. June 14, 2018. The trail ahead. Elk Creek Loop, familiar territory. Photos 2 to 6, the bike ride, trees, creek, normal progression. Photo 7, timestamp 10:43 a.m. The shortcut sign, use at own risk. This is where Mason deviated. This is where everything changed. Photos 8 to 42, the climb to Granger Ridge. Steeper terrain, rocky. The photos show the trail degrading, becoming less maintained, more challenging, but also beautiful, spectacular views, the kind of vistas that would make a 10-year-old with a camera think just a little farther. Photo 43, timestamp 2:04 p.m. First photo from beyond the ridge. Deadfall Canyon visible in the distance. Mason pushed past Granger, kept going. Exploring photo 44, the watch on his wrist. 2:06 p.m., still working, still tracking time. Photos 45 to 93, 8 days of survival. Torres has analyzed every frame, made notes, built a narrative. Day 1, photos 45 to 56, Mason realizes he's lost. The photos show him trying to backtrack, attempting to find the main trail, failing. By nightfall, you can see the light fading in the images. He's building a shelter. Branches propped against a fallen log, not perfect but functional. Day 2, photos 57 to 68, water. Mason finds a creek, fills his water bottle. You can see it in his hand in photo 59. Smart, hydration first. The photos show him trying to start a fire, gathering kindling, striking rocks. It doesn't work, but he tries. Day 3, photos 69 to 78, signaling. Mason builds a fire pit in a clearing, uses green branches to create smoke. The photos show him waving his orange bandana, Pop's bandana, the one Pop must have given him that morning, the one that would later be buried with Pop 7 years later. Mason is trying to be seen, trying to be found. Day 4, photos 79 to 86, exploration. He's moving, trying to find a way out. The photos show increasing desperation. Steeper terrain, more dangerous. One photo 82 shows his hand, skinned and bleeding. Day 5, photos 87 to 92, decline. The photos show Mason is struggling, moving slower. The timestamps spread further apart, not every 30 seconds anymore, every hour, every 2 hours. He's conserving battery or he's too exhausted to move. Day 6-8. Photos 93 to 189, the final sequence. Torres keeps coming back to these because this is where everything becomes evidence. Photo 124. Timestamp day 6, 2:14 p.m. The shape between the trees. Torres has enhanced it. Run it through every imaging software CBI has. Applied filters, contrast adjustments, edge detection. It's definitely human. Definitely wearing camouflage. Realtree edge pattern. Torres confirmed this with the manufacturer. Digital camouflage designed for Rocky Mountain terrain. Released January 2018. 5 months before Mason disappeared. The person is standing motionless approximately 40 yards from Mason, watching. Photo 146. Timestamp day 6, 2:25 p.m. The same person, closer now, 20 yards, still watching, still motionless, still not helping. Mason was alone in the wilderness for 6 days. Struggling, surviving, trying to signal, and on day 6 someone found him, someone who didn't call for help, someone who just watched. Torres's pen taps against the desk. 3 beats, 2 beats, 3 beats. His thinking rhythm, inherited from his father who was a detective before him, who taught Torres that the answers are in the details, always in the details. He clicks forward to photo 189. The last photo. Timestamp, day 8, June 22, 2018, 3:47 p.m. The image shows the GoPro's lens at an angle, like the helmet fell or was removed or Mason was on the ground looking up. And in the reflection on the lens surface, distorted, warped by the curved glass but unmistakable, a hand reaching. Torres zooms in. The reflection is poor quality. Lens distortion makes it difficult, but there are details, specific details. A jacket sleeve, dark green, canvas material, and on the sleeve, partially visible, a logo. Torres enhances, sharpens, runs the image through recognition software. The logo resolves. Cedar Falls Hunting and Tackle, local sporting goods store. They sell hunting gear, fishing equipment, outdoor apparel. They also embroider their logo on jackets for employees and regular customers. Distinctive design, 3 letters on the sleeve, initials. Torres can make out 2 letters clearly. K and B, the middle letter is obscured, could be several options, but the embroidery style is specific. 3-letter monogram, first initial, last initial, middle initial. KB. Torres opens a new database search. Cedar Falls residents, hunting license holders. Cedar Falls Hunting and Tackle customer records. He'll need a warrant for the full list, but the store's public records show employees and sponsored hunters. He's looking for someone with K as the middle initial and B as the last. Someone who hunts, who wears Realtree edge, who shops at Cedar Falls Hunting and Tackle, someone who was in the wilderness in June 2018, someone who found a lost 10-year-old boy and didn't call for help. The search returns 14 names. Torres narrows it, male, age 25-55 based on hand size in the reflection. Cedar Falls resident in June 2018. 7 names. He cross-references with volunteer lists from the search effort. Because if you're looking for someone who killed a child and hid it, you look for someone who inserted themselves into the investigation, who wanted to know what authorities knew, who helped search while knowing exactly where the body was. 3 names appear on both lists. Torres pulls up driver's license photos. The third name makes his breath stop. Wade Kenneth Briscoe, age 47 in 2018. Cedar Falls resident, employee at Cedar Falls Hunting and Tackle from 2015-2019. Sponsored hunter, won local competitions, specialized in bow hunting, which means he's familiar with Deadfall Canyon terrain where bow hunters track elk. Wade Kenneth Briscoe, WKB, and he was a volunteer searcher for all 8 days. Stood beside Kevin and Rachel Reilly at press conferences. Helped organize grid searches, distributed flyers with Mason's face. Torres pulls the volunteer sign-in sheets. Briscoe's signature appears 43 times, different sectors, different days, always thorough, always helpful, always there. Torres clicks back to photo 189, zooms in on the reflection again, past the jacket, past the hand, to the wrist just barely visible at the edge of frame. A watch. Bulky digital dark band, Torres enhances, Casio G-Shock, black resin band, distinctive square face. He pulls Briscoe's driver's license photo again, taken in 2017, 1 year before Mason disappeared. Briscoe is wearing a watch in the photo, left wrist, Casio G-Shock, black resin band. Torres reaches for his phone, calls Sheriff Chen. "I know who killed Mason Reilly," he says. "Objects endure when people don't." The GoPro outlasted the boy who wore it. The memory card preserved what memory couldn't. Technology became his voice when his actual voice stopped. 7 years of questions answered by 93 photos. 7 years of searching ended by a reflection in a lens. Torres prints the photos, all 93, needs to hold them, needs to see them as physical objects, not just pixels, needs to arrange them on his desk the way evidence boards arrange crimes. He prints photo 124 twice. Once standard, once enhanced with the camouflage pattern highlighted, circles the shape in red marker. Prints photo 146 3 times, different enhancement levels, shows the progression, shows the approach. Prints photo 189 at maximum size, 11x17, the reflection fills the page. The hand, the jacket, the initials on the sleeve, the watch. WKB, Wade Kenneth Briscoe. Torres has been a detective for 19 years. Worked homicides in Denver, seen crime scenes that would break most people, learned to maintain distance, maintain objectivity, maintain the professional detachment that keeps you functional. But this case is different. This is a 10-year-old boy who survived for 8 days, who built shelters and found water and tried to signal for help, who did everything right, who was capable and smart and exactly as brave as his father always believed. And someone found him on day 6. Someone who could have saved him. Someone who chose not to. Torres's hands shake as he arranges the photos. He hasn't called Kevin or Rachel yet. Won't until he has Briscoe in custody. Won't give them hope without certainty. Won't tell them their son documented his own killer unless he can also tell them justice is coming. Sheriff Chen arrives at 9:00 p.m. Looks at the photos spread across Torres's desk. Looks at the enhanced images, looks at the evidence that's been waiting 7 years to be found. "My God," she says quietly. "We need to bring him in," Torres says, "tonight, before he knows we have this." "What's the charge?" "Murder 1, kidnapping. We'll add charges as we build the case, but we've got him on the photo evidence, his jacket, his watch. Presence at a crime scene. Defense will argue the photos are inconclusive. They show someone stalking a child, they show someone approaching, and the last photo shows Briscoe's hand reaching for a boy who died 8 days after the photo was taken. That's not inconclusive. That's premeditation, opportunity, and physical evidence." Chen nods. "Where does Briscoe live?" "Same house he lived in 2018, 22 Pinewood Drive." quarter-mile from the Reilly family. The words hang in the air. Quarter-mile, Mason's neighbor, the man who helped search, who stood on porches handing out flyers, who looked Kevin Reilly in the eye and said, "We'll find him, don't give up hope." While knowing exactly where Mason was, while knowing he'd put him there. "Get a warrant," Chen says. "I'll get the tactical team. We move in 2 hours." Wade Kenneth Briscoe is eating dinner when they knock. 11:00 p.m. Late for a warrant service. But Chen doesn't want to wait until morning. Doesn't want to give Briscoe time to run, time to hide evidence, time to prepare. 6 officers, full tactical gear, because you never know, because men who kill children are unpredictable, because Cedar Falls PD learned long ago to prepare for worst-case scenarios. Briscoe answers the door in sweatpants and a flannel shirt. He's aged since 2018, 54 now. Grayer, heavier. But his hands are steady when he opens the door. His eyes are calm. "Wade Briscoe?" Chen asks, though she knows, has his driver's license photo memorized. "Yes, I'm Sheriff Andrea Chen. This is Detective Marcus Torres. We have a warrant to search your property." Briscoe's face doesn't change. "What's this about? May we come in?" He steps aside, doesn't argue, doesn't protest. Just lets them enter his home like he's got nothing to hide. The house is neat. Organized, living room with a couch and TV. Kitchen table visible through an archway. Hallway leading to bedrooms. Torres scans everything, looking for hunting gear, looking for Realtree Edge camouflage, looking for the jacket with the Cedar Falls Hunting and Tackle logo and the WKB monogram. "Mr. Briscoe," Chen says carefully, "we need to ask you some questions about June 2018. Something flickers across Briscoe's face. Quick, almost invisible. "June 2018, he repeats. "Mason Reilly," Torres says, watching, waiting for reaction. Briscoe sits down at the kitchen table, slowly, like his legs have stopped working. "You found him," he says, not a question. Torres's heart rate spikes. That's as good as a confession, right there, 4 words. "You found him," not, "What are you talking about?" not, "I don't know what you mean you found him." "We found his camera," Torres says. Sits down across from Briscoe. Chen remains standing, positioned between Briscoe and the door. Torres pulls out the photos, printed, physical, undeniable. He places photo 124 on the table. "This was taken on June 20, 2018, Torres says. "Day 6 of Mason being lost. Do you recognize this location?" Briscoe looks at the photo. His hand moves involuntary brief toward it, then stops. "That's," he pauses. "That's past Granger Ridge. And this shape here." Torres taps the red circle, the camouflage pattern. "Do you know what that is?" Silence. Torres places photo 146 on the table, the shape closer. "This was taken 11 minutes later," Torres says. "The person is closer now, moving toward Mason." Briscoe's breathing changes, faster, shallow. Torres places photo 189 on the table, the reflection, the hand, the jacket sleeve, the initials. "The watch, this is the last photo Mason Reilly ever took," Torres says. His voice is perfectly calm, perfectly level, years of interrogation training keeping emotion out of it. "June 22, 2018, 3:47 p.m. and in the reflection we can see a hand reaching for him. We can see a jacket sleeve. We can see initials embroidered on that sleeve." Torres leans forward. "WKB," he says. "Wade Kenneth Briscoe." Briscoe stares at the photo. His hands are shaking now, pressed flat against the table like he needs to feel something solid, something real. "He wasn't supposed to be on that trail," Briscoe says quietly. "There it is, the confession, passive voice, deflection, but admission." Chen presses record on her body camera, make sure the audio is clear. "Wade," Torres says gently, "tell me what happened." Briscoe's eyes are wet, not crying, not yet, but close. "I was hunting." He says, "bow season scouting. I know that area. I know where the elk move. I've hunted Deadfall Canyon for 20 years. And you saw Mason, day 6. I was setting up a trail camera and I saw him. This kid, this little kid all alone in the middle of nowhere." Briscoe's voice cracks. "He was trying to make a fire. He had an orange bandana tied to a stick. He was waving it. Why didn't you help him?" Silence. "Wade, why didn't you call for help?" "I don't know." Briscoe's hands move to his face, cover his eyes. "I don't know. I watched him. I was curious. I wanted to see if he could survive, if he'd figure it out, if he'd make it." Torres feels ice in his chest, clinical detachment cracking. "You watched a 10-year-old boy struggle for 2 days," he says. "I brought him food." Briscoe drops his hands, looks at Torres desperately, like this matters, like this makes it better. Day 7. I left granola bars and a water bottle where he'd find them. I was helping. You weren't helping, you were playing with him. I wasn't. Briscoe stops, starts again. I just wanted to watch, just for a day or two. I was going to call it in. I was going to make sure he got found. But then what? He saw me. Briscoe's voice drops to a whisper. Day 8. He saw me, started yelling, started running toward me. He was going to tell. He was going to say I'd been there, that I'd been watching, that I didn't help. Torres's pen taps, 323, controlling the rage building in his chest. What did you do, Wade? I just wanted him to be quiet. I just wanted to explain. I reached for him and he fell. He hit his head on a rock and he just stopped moving, stopped breathing. I didn't mean, I was just trying to. Where's his body? Briscoe closes his eyes. Deadfall Canyon, there's a crevice 30 feet deep. I put him there, covered it with rocks. I thought no one would ever find it. I thought. You thought you'd get away with it, Torres finishes. I helped search. Briscoe's voice rises, desperate, pleading. I volunteered, I looked for him, I wanted him to be found. I just didn't want anyone to know I was there. I didn't want anyone to know I watched. You stood next to his parents, Torres says. Each word precise, each word a nail. You looked his father in the eye, you handed out flyers with his face, you organized search grids, and the entire time you knew exactly where he was. I'm sorry. Briscoe is crying now, actual tears. I'm so sorry, I didn't mean for any of this. He wasn't supposed to be on that trail. He was supposed to stay on the loop. If he just stayed where he was supposed to be. Stand up, Chen says. Her voice cuts through everything. Cold, absolute. Wade Kenneth Briscoe, you're under arrest for the murder of Mason James Reilly. She reads him his rights while Torres sits at the table staring at the photos. 93 frames, 8 days documented. A 10-year-old boy who survived in wilderness with competence and courage, who signaled for help, who was found, who died because someone chose watching over saving. Torres gathers the photos carefully, slides them back into the evidence folder. These photos will be exhibits, will be shown in court, will be the reason Wade Kenneth Briscoe never sees freedom again. But first, Torres has to tell the Reilly family, has to tell Kevin and Rachel that their son was exactly as capable as they believed, that he survived, that he tried, that someone found him and let him die anyway. Torres's hands shake as he seals the evidence bag. 7 years, 2 months, 20 days, and finally they know. The trial begins on April 7, 2026. 9 months after the GoPro was recovered. 9 months of forensic analysis, witness preparation, legal maneuvering. Wade Kenneth Briscoe pleaded not guilty. His attorney, public defender, overworked, doing his best, argues that the photos are circumstantial, that reflections can't be definitively identified. That presence doesn't equal guilt. The prosecution has 93 photos that tell a different story. The courtroom in Denver, Cedar Falls, too small for case this size, fills every day. Media in the back rows. Victim advocates, families of other missing children who see their own nightmare reflected in Mason Reilly's story. Kevin and Rachel sit in the front row, not together, not touching, but present, both of them, every single day. Lily, now 15, sits between them. She's taller now. Looks like her mother, has her father's quiet steadiness. She misses school for 6 weeks to attend the trial. Her teachers understand. Everyone in Cedar Falls understands. Detective Torres testifies on day 3. He walks the jury through the photo analysis. 93 images displayed on screens around the courtroom. The progression, the timeline, Mason's survival skills, his attempts to signal, his competence and courage. Photo 124 appears on the screens. Torres uses a laser pointer. This shape here, approximately 40 yards from Mason's position, is a human figure wearing Realtree Edge camouflage. This pattern was released in January 2018, 5 months before Mason disappeared. Photo 146. 11 minutes later, the figure has moved closer, 20 yards now, still watching, still not rendering aid. Photo 189. The courtroom goes silent. Torres zooms in on the reflection, the hand, the jacket, the sleeve. In this reflection, you can see a hand reaching toward Mason. On the sleeve visible here is the Cedar Falls Hunting and Tackle logo with embroidered initials, WKB, Wade Kenneth Briscoe. He clicks to a comparison image. Briscoe's employee photo from the sporting goods store, same jacket, same initials, same watch on his wrist. The defendant was there, Torres says, on day 8 when Mason Reilly died. The defense attorney cross-examines, tries to create doubt, asks about lens distortion, about reflection reliability, about whether the initials could belong to someone else. Torres doesn't waver. The jacket is distinctive, the initials are clear, and the defendant confessed to being present at the scene. That's when the prosecution plays the interrogation recording. Briscoe's voice fills the courtroom. He wasn't supposed to be on that trail. I watched him, I was curious, I wanted to see if he could survive. I just wanted him to be quiet. Rachel presses her hand to her chest over her heart, the same gesture from 7 years ago. Kevin's hands grip the bench in front of him, knuckles white. Lily closes her eyes and practices the secret handshake in her lap, high-five motion, fist bump. Explosion fingers, pinky link. The muscle memory of loving a brother she barely remembers. The medical examiner testifies on day 5. They recovered Mason's remains in October 2025. Took weeks of careful excavation from the crevice in Deadfall Canyon, 30 feet deep, exactly where Briscoe said. Cause of death, the medical examiner says, was blunt force trauma to the head consistent with a fall or impact against a rock surface. The fracture pattern suggests. Kevin stands up. Walks out, can't listen to how his son died. Can't hear the clinical description of Mason's skull breaking. Rachel stays, needs to hear it, needs to know every detail. It's nurse brain, it's mother brain, it's the need to witness, to carry, to remember. The trial lasts 6 weeks, 42 witnesses, hundreds of exhibits, photo after photo after photo of Mason trying to survive, trying to be found, trying to stay alive. Exhibit 47 is Mason's digital watch. Still stopped at 3:47 p.m. June 22, 2018. The exact timestamp of photo 189. The moment Briscoe reached for him, the moment Mason's time stopped. The defense presents their case in 3 days. Character witnesses for Briscoe, people who say he was quiet, helpful, kind, people who knew him from the sporting goods store, from church, from the neighborhood. Rachel wants to scream, wants to stand up and shout that monsters don't look like monsters, that the man who killed her son handed out flyers with Mason's face, that evil wears flannel shirts and works retail and lives quarter-miles away from the families it destroys. But she stays silent, lets the process work, trusts that 93 photos speak louder than character witnesses. Closing arguments happen on May 19, 2026. The prosecution is methodical, shows the photo timeline again, emphasizes premeditation, Briscoe watching for 2 days before approaching, emphasizes depravity, treating a child's survival like a nature documentary, emphasizes the cover-up, volunteering for searches while knowing exactly where Mason was. Wade Kenneth Briscoe had multiple opportunities to save Mason Reilly, the prosecutor says. Day 6, Day 7, Day 8. He chose not to, he chose to watch. And when Mason discovered him, when Mason threatened to expose what he'd done, Wade Briscoe chose murder. The defense argues reasonable doubt, questions photo clarity, suggests Mason could have died from exposure, from accident, from anything other than murder. The prosecution wants you to see malice where there might have been tragedy, the defense attorney says. Yes, Mr. Briscoe was present. Yes, he made terrible decisions, but that doesn't make him a murderer. The jury deliberates for 11 hours. May 20, 2026, 4:17 p.m., they return with a verdict. The courtroom stands, everyone, media, advocates, families, the judge, only the jury remains seated. On the charge of first-degree murder, how do you find? The foreman stands, he's 63 years old, retired teacher, father of 3, he's been crying, you can see it in his eyes. We find the defendant guilty. The courtroom erupts, not with cheers, not with celebration, with exhaled breath, with the sound of tension that's been held for 7 years, 2 months, and 20 days finally breaking. Rachel makes a sound, small, quiet. Kevin reaches for her hand, she takes it. They grip each other like drowning people grip life preservers. Lily whispers, we found him, Mason, we finally found you. Briscoe doesn't react, just sits there, staring at nothing. Sentencing happens 2 weeks later. Life without possibility of parole. The judge, woman in her 50s, mother herself, voice tight with controlled emotion, addresses Briscoe directly. You stole 8 years from Mason Reilly. You stole 7 years from his family. You turned their grief into your entertainment. The law allows me to give you life in prison. I wish it allowed me to give you more. Then she turns to the Reilly family. Mason was capable. He was brave. He survived with skills most adults don't possess. He did everything right, and he deserved to be saved. I'm sorry he wasn't. I'm sorry you had to wait 7 years to know. But I hope this verdict gives you something to carry forward. Kevin nods, can't speak. Rachel says, thank you, it's all she can manage. They bury Mason on June 14, 2026. 8 years to the day after he disappeared. The funeral is in Cedar Falls. Small church on Maple Street where the Reilly family hasn't attended since 2018. The pews fill anyway. Search volunteers, teachers, neighbors, Detective Torres, Sheriff Chen, people who never met Mason but carried him anyway. The casket is closed, has to be. 8 years in a canyon crevice left nothing that could be shown. But Rachel knows her son is there, has the medical examiner's confirmation. Has Mason's remains returned to her in a way she never thought would happen. Pop's orange bandana is draped across the casket. Rachel placed it there herself. The same bandana Pop wore June 14, 2018. The same bandana they buried Pop with in 2024. Kevin's mother, Pop's widow, gave it to Rachel before Pop's funeral, said he'd want Mason to have it when you find him. When not if, and now Mason has it. The service is simple. Pastor speaks about young lives ended too soon, about faith in darkness, about carrying loss forward, standard words, well-meaning, insufficient. Kevin speaks, briefly. Mason loved the mountains, he says. His voice is steady, practiced. He's been rehearsing this for weeks. He loved exploring. He loved documenting everything. He wanted to bike the entire Colorado Trail before turning 18. He had a map on his wall with sections highlighted. So many white spaces left. Kevin pauses, breathes. We'll finish it for him. Lily and I, we're going to bike every mile Mason wanted to ride. We're going to document it. And every section we complete, we'll tie an orange bandana to mark it so Mason will know we're carrying him with us. He sits down. Rachel squeezes his hand, then Lily stands, 15 years old, taller than her mother now, wearing a gray t-shirt that says Adventure Awaits, the same design Mason wore June 14, 2018. Rachel ordered it custom. Lily wears it every June 14th. I don't remember my brother very well, Lily starts. Her voice shakes. She steadies it. I was 7 when he disappeared. I remember some things, his gap-toothed smile, the way he lined up his Matchbox cars, our secret handshake. She demonstrates empty air, high five, fist bump. Explosion fingers, pinky link. I've been doing that alone for 8 years, Lily says, practicing it, making sure I don't forget, because when Mason came home, I wanted to get it right. Her voice breaks on came home. She breathes, continues. He did come home, not the way we wanted, not alive, but he came home, and I learned something about him from those 93 photos. He was brave, he was capable. He survived 8 days in wilderness by himself when most adults couldn't survive one. He built shelters, he found water, he signaled for help, he did everything right. Lily's hands go to her chest, over her heart, just like her mother. I added a new part to our handshake, she says. High five, fist bump, explosion fingers, pinky link, and then this. She places both hands over her heart, presses firm. That's the new part. That's me carrying him with me. That's him in here always. She looks at the casket. I learned to ride a bike, Mason. I'm good at it now. Dad and I are going to finish your map. We're going to see everything you wanted to see, and every mile I'll do our handshake, so you're still exploring, so you're still documenting, so you're still here. She sits down. The church is silent except for the sound of people crying. They bury Mason at Cedar Falls Cemetery, the same cemetery where Pop is buried. Same section, grandfather and grandson side by side. The gravestone is simple granite. Mason James Reilly, February 22, 2008, June 22, 2018. Beloved son, brother, grandson, fearless explorer. He came home. That last line was Kevin's idea. He came home. Not rest in peace. Not gone but not forgotten. He came home because that's what matters. After 7 years, 2 months, 20 days, Mason came home. They lower the casket at 2:00 p.m. June sunshine, golden light, the kind of light that makes everything glow the way it glowed that last normal morning 8 years ago. Rachel drops a handful of dirt on the casket, so does Kevin, so does Lily. Then Lily places something on top before they fill it in, a small spiral notebook. Field Observations Journal, brand new. The first page reads, Mason's Colorado Trail Project. Completed by Lily Reilly and Kevin Reilly in honor of Mason James Reilly. Starting June 14, 2026. We're going to see everything you wanted to see, we promise. The notebook will be buried with Mason, but a copy, exact duplicate, same handwriting, same promise is in Kevin's backpack. He and Lily start writing tomorrow, September 2026. 3 months after the funeral, 15 months after the GoPro was found. Kevin Reilly stands at mile marker 3-2 on the Colorado Trail. He's 59 years old, gray hair, weathered face, legs that protest every climb but carry him anyway. He's been riding sections of the trail every weekend since June, sometimes with Lily, sometimes alone, always with Mason. Mile 3-2 was Mason's favorite. Kevin found this in Mason's notes. The handwritten map annotations on the laminated trail map that used to hang on Mason's bedroom wall. Next to mile 3-2 in Mason's careful 10-year-old handwriting, best view 3 valleys, come back here. So Kevin came back. He's standing on a ridge where you can see 3 valleys at once. Mountain peaks extending to the horizon. Forest so thick it looks like green ocean. Sky impossibly blue. Kevin pulls an orange bandana from his pack. Pop's bandana. The one from the casket. Rachel gave it back to Kevin after the funeral, said, Mason should keep one, you should use one. So Kevin does. He ties the bandana to a tree at mile 3-2, bright orange against dark pine bark, visible from the trail, a marker, a memorial, a promise kept. Kevin stands back, looks at it. We're at mile 47 now, Mace, he says aloud, talks to Mason on every ride. Has since June. Lily did miles 12 through 23 with me last month. She's fast, faster than I ever was, faster than you would have been probably, but don't tell her I said that. The wind moves through the pines, sounds like whispers, sounds like breath. Your mom is doing better, Kevin continues. She's sleeping more. She went back to work at the hospital, just part-time, just pediatric urgent care, baby steps, but she's trying, we both are. He pauses. We're not getting back together. I know you'd want that, but we're friends. We have dinner sometimes. We talk about you. We show each other the photos from the rides. It's enough. It's what we can manage. Kevin reaches into his pack, pulls out a GoPro Hero 12, latest model, mounted on his helmet the same way Mason mounted the Hero 5 on his. I'm documenting everything, Kevin says. Every mile, every marker, every view. Making the documentary you wanted to make. Lily's editing the footage. She's good at it, takes after you. He looks at the orange bandana fluttering in the wind. Detective Torres told me about photo 124, Kevin says quietly. The shape in the trees. He didn't want to tell me, didn't want me to know someone was watching you, but I needed to know, needed to understand what happened. His voice tightens. You saw him, didn't you, day 6? You saw someone in camouflage and you thought he was there to help. You thought you were saved, and he just watched like you were a nature documentary, like your suffering was entertainment. Kevin's hands clench. I hope Briscoe rots in that cell. I hope every single day feels like a year. I hope he lives to be 100 and spends every second knowing what he took from you, from us. He breathes, releases the anger, can't carry it on the trail. Mason wouldn't want that. But you survived, Mace. For 8 days you survived, you built shelters, you found water, you signaled for help, you were brave, you were capable, you were exactly the kid I knew you were. Kevin touches the bandana. Pop would have been proud, so proud. He talked about you every day after you disappeared, never stopped, never gave up hope. He's buried next to you now, right beside you, wearing his own orange bandana, watching over you like he always did. The sun is setting, golden light fading to orange, the same light from that last normal morning, the same light that makes the mountains glow. Kevin checks his watch, 4:15 p.m. He should head back. Lily is meeting him at the trailhead at 5:30. They're having dinner together. Their Thursday ritual, father and daughter, both carrying the absence of the person who should be there. Kevin takes one last look at the bandana. I'll be back next month, he says. Mile 67 by then if my knees hold out. I'll keep going. I'll finish it, all 756 miles, every single one for you. He turns to leave, then stops, pulls the GoPro off his helmet, aims it at the bandana, at the view, at the 3 valleys and the mountains and the sky, presses record. And we're at mile 3-2, Kevin says to the camera, narrating the way Mason used to narrate. The view here is, it's everything, Mace, 3 valleys. Just like your notes said, just like you wanted to see. He pans the camera slowly, captures it all. Adventure awaits, Kevin says softly, stops recording, mounts the camera back on his helmet, starts the ride back. The trail is quiet, just wind through pines, just birds calling, just Kevin's breathing and the click of his bike chain and the particular silence that lives in wilderness. He rides until the light is almost gone, reaches the trailhead at 5:28 p.m., exactly on time. Military precision, the way Mason would have done it. Lily is waiting, 15 years old, wearing her Adventure Awaits t-shirt. Mason's bike, the blue Schwinn, maintained perfectly, leaning against her car. How was it? She asks. Good, left the bandana at 3-2, that's the one he liked. Yeah, 3 valleys, Lily nods, understanding. She's read all of Mason's notes. Memorized them the way some people memorize poems. They load the bikes, drive home in comfortable silence. Rachel is at the house when they arrive. She's not living there anymore, has her own apartment across town, but she comes for Thursday dinners. The 3 of them, the family that remains, they eat together, they talk about Mason, they look at photos from the rides. Tonight, Rachel has made Mason's favorite meal, spaghetti, garlic bread, the simple food of childhood. They eat at the kitchen table, not the dining room. The dining room still has Katie's wall, what they started calling it years ago, though Katie was never part of this story. Just Rachel's obsessive mapping and timeline tracking that consumed the space where they used to eat as a family. The wall is different now. Instead of search grids and missing person posters, it's a map of the Colorado Trail. 756 miles. With sections highlighted in yellow, the miles Kevin and Lily have completed. Orange bandanas drawn in marker at significant points. Mile 3-2, mile 12. 8, mile 23, 4, mile 47, 6, each one marked, each one witnessed, each one carrying Mason forward. After dinner, Lily shows them the edited footage from today's ride. She's cut it into a 3-minute video, set to music Mason liked, instrumental, cinematic. The kind of soundtrack that makes ordinary trails look epic. The video shows Kevin tying the orange bandana, shows the 3-valley view, shows the sunset light. The last shot is the bandana fluttering in wind, then fade to black. Text appears: Mason James Reilly, February 22, 2008, June 22, 2018, mile 3. 2 of 756 adventure continues. Rachel's hand goes to her chest. She does this less now. The anxiety doesn't grip quite as hard. Sleep comes a little easier. The world feels a little less dangerous, but she still checks, still presses her palm over her heart, still makes sure it's beating, still makes sure she's here. It's beautiful, Rachel says. He would have loved it, Kevin adds. Lily saves the video, uploads it to a private YouTube channel. The Mason Reilly Colorado Trail Project. 47 videos so far, 1 for every mile completed. She's building the documentary Mason wanted to make. Mile by mile, frame by frame. The way Mason documented everything with the GoPro that saved him 7 years too late. The house empties by 9:00 p.m. Rachel goes home. Lily goes home. Kevin stays because this is still his house, even though it's too big for one person, even though every room echoes with absence. He stands in Mason's bedroom. It's different now. Not frozen in 2018 anymore. The Matchbox cars are packed away. The bike helmet is in evidence storage, will be returned eventually, but Kevin isn't ready for that yet. The laminated trail map hangs on the wall, but it's updated now, yellow highlighting extending further each month. On the desk is a photo, the last photo Rachel took of Mason. June 14, 2018. 8:47 a.m. Gap-toothed smile, hand raised in wave. Orange bandana visible in the background at Pop's house. Golden light making everything glow. Kevin looks at it every night. 47 miles, Mace, he says. 79 to go this year, then we start again next summer. Lily and I were going to finish it. The photo doesn't answer, but Kevin feels something he hasn't felt in years. Not hope. Hope died in Deadfall Canyon, but purpose, direction. The sense that carrying Mason forward means something. Means everything. He turns off the light, leaves the door open, always leaves it open, just in case. Outside, the September night is cool, stars visible, mountains dark against darker sky. Somewhere in those mountains at mile 3, 2. An orange bandana marks the place Mason wanted to see. Somewhere in those mountains, Mason survived for 8 days with courage that most adults will never possess. Somewhere in those mountains, a boy documented his own final days with the precision his father taught him. Frame by frame, every 30 seconds, 93 times, the GoPro outlasted the boy who wore it. The memory card preserved what memory couldn't. Technology became his voice when his voice stopped. And 7 years later, 93 photos brought him home, not alive, not whole, but home. This is what justice looks like, not restoration, but accountability, not healing, but witness, not closure, but the refusal to forget. Mason James Reilly was 10 years old when he disappeared. He'd be 18 now if things had gone differently, if he'd stayed on the Elk Creek Loop, if Wade Kenneth Briscoe had called for help instead of watching, if 100 small choices had aligned differently, but things didn't go differently and he was 10 and the world continued turning without him for 8 years. This is his story, the disappearance that took 7 years to solve. The boy who documented his own survival, the family that never stopped searching, and the 93 photos that finally brought their son home.